Here with Futures Trading. I'd like to welcome you to the channel. We're going to look at BTC. I know some of you trade that cryptocurrency. I don't do that. I trade futures, but we're going to take a look at that. I know we've been doing that NQ. Before doing so, let's take a quick look at that NQ. However, here's that hourly using the volume benchmark institutional indicator. That's a 1 bar setup. We're going to look at that with the BTC on the daily. All right, so this is what you had on Friday. I did tell you they shouldn't get back above that range, and they did not do that. I thought that they would hover at that center a little bit more before doing what they did, but nevertheless, I did tell you they're not going to get back above it. And if you want to hear me go over that, check out yesterday's video there. Most viewed videos, start with this one if you're new. I arranged this here so you can go ahead and start here and then work your way through, all right? Because this is very important if you're trying to time the market, if you're trying to get in it on that bar. Really, really important stuff, all right? And of course, I spread it from the 1 minute all the way up to that daily. You can take that approach even on that hourly, all right? So threshold, how far the candle pulled back, price action trend, you just need to be able to count to 10, price action method, and then of course I teach you how to read your bezel. All four of those things we're going to go over, all right? So let me do that really fast for those that's new. I'm just going to do that for you and then we'll jump into some other content. Right here, the pressure is coming on because the mid of this bar, this blue line, is exceeding that bar's high. All right, so that's what we're primarily looking for that color. All right, we just want, let's go this way. So if we want to go down, we're wanting the midpoint of that bar to exceed the low. And if we're wanting to go up, all right, what it's doing currently right now, we want the midpoint of this bar to exceed that high. And should that happen, this bar will turn green or that one will turn red. All right, so we want it to exceed, and that's what you'll end up with. Now, the next thing that we're trying to get to happen, because it more than likely it'll come back. I mean, that's just what it does. If it can pull into the threshold here, now it's not going to come back on this bar clearly, but maybe the next one or subsequent ones after that, maybe it wants to come back and then of course turn away. Can you use the threshold? Because that's what this is. All right, so that threshold on the bar is just a little bit outside of half. You'll want to see price kind of pull into it as it is now and then take back off. Given the amount of time, and again, you have to go back and watch those videos. Those that have watched it, of course, you can look at the clock and know what the fluctuation should be and how the bar needs to close based on time. But yeah, most cases it'll come back, and I just want to tell you that so you're not taken off guard. Now there is a trend here, and let me go over that, and of course the location. We're at the center of the chart. I'll teach you how to read your bezel. So the center of the chart. Let me just first do that. The center of the chart, and I'm going to give a take here. I'm not being perfect with this. The center of the chart is here. All right, so this kind of makes sense that they're getting this way. All right, now the lower half of your chart is here. All right, and it works on any market, any time frame. That's all I teach. All right, so and then the upper part of your chart is here. All right, now I'm going to color just this side. All right, because they're heading this way. So let's just do this and see what we get. All right, so let's put this here. All right, so now let's talk about the, because I believe they're getting ready to blow this bar because you don't want them to go too far past that threshold. You really don't. You want them to come into the threshold, right into that little area there, and then take off. You want them to come into that little area there and then take off. You don't want them, going beyond that threshold. They'll run the bar. All right, so, and I believe they have. Let me just look at this low. You can look in the upper left-hand corner here. So the low, 511.74. They kissed it to the tick. That's amazing. All right, so you got the market telling you one or two things is getting ready to take place. All right, when the bar turns red or green, this is what you're aiming for. Right, that's what you're aiming for. Now, sometimes they can put it on the internal side of that move. All right, just want to go ahead and tell you that so you're not wondering. And they can sometimes still make it this far as well. But if it wanted to, it can do this and just come back up and break that pivot and then take back off. But I'm gonna leave this here. And let's color this green, and we're going to keep an eye on this as I go through some of the other information here. All right, so center of the chart again, they're right there doing their little back and forth, wanting to try to trick you. We got to talk about that trend because we have a trend behind us, actually on both sides. It's on both sides. All right, so the trend. I didn't put the trend dots up here. There's some trend dots I have that indicate the actual trend in different respects. All right, so because in the timing videos I talked to you about not just the trend, just a little bit faster to get into it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so that's 7 there. All right. And again, in the other videos, I tell you something to get in it a little bit faster, so you'll want to go back. All right, and when to look for it. And that's the other part, when to look for it. All right, so let's just lock that, and we're going to do the exact same thing we did to that pattern. We got to listen to the market. That's all. Listen to it, and then you'll win. All right. So, all right, let's just put this here because they were pointing down. Well, I see what they're doing though. All right, we're going to get to the bottom of it. The most important part of it is this. Here's the center of the trend, because if they're going to stay down, all right, if they're going to stay down, this is the center of the trend, the cost of the thought. Okay, that is like you and I. Whenever you have a thought, you have the end in mind. So this is a point of deliberation. It can turn around if it wants or come back and revisit another idea. And of course, from the bottom, we have a trend. You can see that as well. And then, of course, we'll just do it this way. I'm not going to draw the whole thing out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 higher. So the center of that will be roughly here. All right. Now, I'm not going to draw this whole thing out. Let me just put this in front of you, and then you can just kind of piece it together as I go through it. All right. So here we go. And of course, with that being the case, let me make sure I locked it. Yes. All right. So with that being the case, this was our trend. Okay. And it's like the bar pattern. They can go from above. Okay. Which will put them like up here at, what is that, 61,000. Or they could have just done something internally and they pretty much made it. All right, so you kind of get that. So you must listen to the market, not me. All right, just want to tell you that they overshot this threshold. I don't like it. I don't care for it. I really don't. The next thing that you'll want to look for, because I see where it's at, if you can't find this, which I'm pretty certain you will, that's what makes it go. This is the next thing you're looking for. So you're looking for a wick and a bigger wick. Well, big wick, little wick. And then once you find that, the very next thing that you may end up with is this. All right, so let me draw this over here. A small body and a bigger body. You just need to ensure that this body fits in there twice. And hopefully this is a part of it if you're not seeing this. You want to try to get 2 together. If you can get all 3, which I'll go ahead and point that out, that's here. If you can get all 3, fantastic. It was here as well. The more the more of this you get to come on board, because that's the majority principle, which states that the minority is compelled to follow. They're forced to do so. The more of that comes together, the better your chances of the trade working. That's all. All right, so they're running into a problem up here. All right, that being the case, again, they're sitting at this, and you can see that they hit this bar's threshold. I like them on the colored bars, but this will be too much if they get that far back there. That'll just be bad. So they're running into a problem, let's just say right here. Now I'm going to change the color of this just a little bit because I don't want you to get confused about all the things I'm putting up here. Let's make, matter of fact, let's make that, where is that gray? All right. Perfect. All right, so that's what they're having a problem with. They came into our threshold. They just didn't blow the bar. Let's turn this color to the green. So let's do that as well. I do hope you find this information useful because it's simple and it's not complicated. You don't have to digest a lot of different rules. All right, that's the whole point of me putting this stuff online. Okay, light gray, green. All right, so here we go. All right, do bear with me. I'm getting old. All right, so there you have it. All right, so let me lock this one as well. And eventually they're going to come out of one of these. They absolutely will. And so far from what they did back here, I'm pretty certain this is maybe where they're going. Just maybe. Just maybe. All right. The threshold that was back here, you can kind of see they had, hit it, and from where they came down. I'll just draw that forward, just get you an idea. See how they hit it. All right, so they may actually want to get up here and just go ahead and go. Now, the range times. Let me give you some range times, but that's what you're looking for on any price chart. You want to keep them above the center, preferably to go up. Clearly, this is your bezel. All right, so that's your bezel, your hard right edge. You don't have to look left. You want to try to keep them up here if you want to go up. Sometimes they get here and get to acting crazy, and if they do that, begin to utilize this information here. That's what you got to do. And of course, there's more information you can digest by viewing the playlist. Definitely do that. Go down there. I got about 4 of them down there, and it's going to go through a lot of information. Let me make sure I show it to you again. There's a lot of information in each one of these. and they're in order. So you'll want to learn how to time the bar. Then you're dealing with two bars, and then of course there's that trend. There's more bars there. Price action method, how to manage it. So how to keep yourself in that trend as well, and then of course that price scale. So we're definitely threshold. You definitely want to see the market pull back once you learn that information there. All right, so yeah, so they're trying to come back above the center of the chart. Now we're going to just move this out the way, and we're going to come back and take a look and see if they actually made it. Now, before I get into this chart, because there's a couple little things on here that I got for those that has purchased the indicator suite. I got a couple little things I added to it to make it a tad bit fun. All right, but I want to tell you guys, because we introduced the time windows on that playlist with the timing. I'm not going to go into the times, all of them anyway. I'm just going to tell you about, of course, the 204. So it's 204 and then 906. We dealt with the 906 with the NQ on Friday. All right. So we had said, they shouldn't wind up back above that range, and they didn't. They just fell all day. But this range time here, there's a window here also. All right, there's a window here also, and these times deal with the daily. All right, I gave this to the public for free 2 years ago. Right, and I don't know if you guys been using it, but I hope you have. And this range, particularly, I always said to you guys, try to keep them above or below the center of this range is really important. And now you're coming to know why. All right, again, I put that in the timing videos, so you'll want to go back and take a look at that. So the key is trying to keep them above this blue range. Right, this blue range is really important. I tried to give you the overnight. Keeping them outside of this range for 3 hours is really, really a tough thing. And again, that time is this blue one here, which is 6:15, 7:45. Right, and that's why that 9:30 is such a major problem when you go to try to trade the U.S. Open. Very difficult situation trying to keep them outside of this range for 3 whole hours. All right, so you want to try to see if that can take place, and if not, you got this next window here. And again, same process. And then of course here, and that's why you're getting all that correlating effect. That's why you're ending up with that information there. All right. Now I'll just scroll through it just a little bit to kind of give you an idea of what it is that I'm talking about. So the longer that they can stay beneath this one, preferably by 12 o'clock, if they can stay beneath there, you're pretty much on that side. Definitely here. Start here because you're ahead of this. That's all. You're ahead of it. And then, of course, from there, you should be able to get it to work. But once this one comes in, there's a good chance they may not want to stay on that side of it. And, of course, you can just kind of take a look at that and see how it all works. And that way you can get ahead of your whole day. That's all. All right, so let's just kind of get that out the way. And let me talk to those that actually have the indicator suite. There's a couple additions I put in there. Again, I told you guys yesterday, Friday, about the pressures. I moved the no touch, no close pressure. This one here that's firing off. That one there. That's what you're seeing here with that NC situation there. That's what you're seeing. I put that onto the actual bar. All right, and like I said, there's about 7 of them there. Go back in yesterday's video, and I listed them at the top so you know what they are. But yeah, that's there. What I did, I also added this today. So this is something that I ended up adding here, which is the distance, because there was one in the indicator list, but this is a little bit more refined. I add the distance for that pattern. So our majority pattern, this one right here. All right, so this one right here, that's coloring red, red and green. I add that there, and it, of course, tells you how far it should travel. And of course, there's another function to it as well that deals with where you can kind of stay in the market dynamically. I got another one. I can't put it on this chart here, but this one, if you just want to try to trade to the target and get out of this this foolishness, you'll use the other one. But if you want to just trade to the target, just use this one right here, and the name of that one would be your target. So it'll be the no touch, no close targets. So if you just want to get your target and see where the target is at, it's there. It'll plot it for you. Once it hits the target, the level disappears. All right. Or if the pattern is taken out, the level will be gone. So it'll take the level off the chart. And so it's of course going to project it. Now these little arrows is the color for that. I tried to combine the increase indicator with the no touch. So I tried to do both. I tried to find and get you your wicks and your little bodies with the bar color using this little diamond shape arrow situation here. I didn't have the increase indicator on the other chart, but I tried to combine them both. That's why you're not seeing that color here. So that will be this indicator here, and again, that's user friendly, so you can cut it on, cut it off, which ones you want to use. You can cut that on and cut that off. The levels, user friendly as well. You can select how many levels you want to be on the chart. All right, so you don't have to just go with the 3 you're seeing. You can definitely go with more, and that's why I tried to teach you before we got started how far it could end up going. And that's up at what, 19? I'm a little shy. It's okay. I put it at about 17. That's okay. That's by hand. All right, but now the computer would do it for you. All right, so if you want those changes, all you have to do is use that link under the private videos. Under the private videos on either channel, futures trading or day trader today, the last video that I shot there, just go ahead and click that link and retain that. The next thing that I had did, I took and put the price, not just the bar timer, and I changed the floater to actually reflect what type of bar or what it's doing at that present time, I would say. So you're going to see it turn red or green, the price line, as well as you're going to see price flowing with that information there. Just a couple little changes to help you along. The next one that I made was the volume highest percent indicator. All right, and that's, I'm not going to dive into how that works. There's a little blue dot, a pink dot that's on these bars. You can go ahead and just try to just digest some of that. I'll show you the daily with it up there. But the volume benchmark is this is our thing that we've been looking at quite a bit, and that's of course which side they're really on. And of course you want them to take out these bars inside of a pivot, just get above them. They don't want to trade back in front of them. That's important. So they're down in this low, don't trade back in front of them. All right, so they took this one out inside of this pivot, you know, that pivot, all this right here, they took it out. You don't want them to trade back in front of it. And then of course on this side of the market as well, with the value benchmark in front of it, you don't want them doing that. They close, you know, but they're not closing like constantly, you know, trading in that direction. So you kind of had a problem right here. And then of course it came in right here, but you have them on that side as well. Now when it came to them running up here, all right, let's just kind of look at this. All right, they begin to have a problem right outside that range. All right, but again, I told you they may want to go ahead and make that happen. All right, so those are the different changes that I made. All right, so there's a little dot again that's on the bars. Let's take a look at that daily. All right, then I'm gonna get off here, and because they're gonna make it to our target. All right, so the market can't do both. It can't. It cannot. You know, it can't. All right, so that's the daily with the volume institution. This is our thing. This is our thing. This is the thing that we've been looking at here. And then of course you got the bar with the volume highest percent there. You can see them. They're on that bar. They didn't want to pass it. They pulled up to it and it just kind of fell around. It gets a little fussy. It does. But they're important. See if you can trap the dot. That's all. Just see if you can trap the dot. And of course, you know, they were up here. They trapped the blue dot. They took off running. Trapped the pink dot. Take off running. Don't get back in front of that. You know, that's all. You see that pink dot come in. Don't do that. Let's just go. They got up here on that high here, but then they ended up coming in with that blue, and of course they're forcing it down. A new low. You got a couple dots down here, a new low, but they may want to cycle back up. So all you would have to do is use your bezel. Use your bezel. That's all you got to do. Use your bezel. If they want to come up, just use your bezel and see what that would look like. Okay. Keep it simple. Don't make it complicated for those that need help with trading. Let's go right about here. All right, so just keep an eye on your chart. Can they come up? Yes, they could if they want. I teach how to interact with pivots, bars that's large, small, whatever type bars. I teach all of that stuff. But definitely keep an eye out for that range. All right, just keep out for that range. That range is really important. I'm gonna compress this just a teeny bit here so you can kind of see some of that. And again, you want to see if you can keep them under there, under that range, and they've been under there. They haven't got back above that range, and that's at 904. You want to see if they can take a side. I believe it's 904. Yes. Yeah, I think it's 904. No, I'm sorry. It's 906 and 204. 204. Do forgive me for that. Yeah, so 204, and I just projected it for 45 minutes to an hour. All right, so 3 hours, the lines are extending for 3 hours, trying to see if they can remain on that side of it. And then of course here I ended it at 45 minutes there. All right, so if you're in possession of the suite, if you're in possession of the suite, please take advantage of the targets. They'll plot, and again, you can select how many. So that way you'll know how far the market can reach without having to, do what I did, having to draw it out. You don't have to do that. So let me just kind of put this side by side so you can see what I mean. All right, so it'll put it there for you as those setups keep coming in. So that little arrow, up, I got rid of my chart. That little arrow there is indicative of that bar color. All right, so where is that chart? Where is the chart? Oh my goodness. All right, so there's our chart. Let me just kind of do this. All right, and then once it hits that, I am absolutely off of here. All right, so yeah, so well, I'm not even gonna state when it because it may not get there fast enough. But yeah, so those little arrows again, or that diamond will try to keep mind of that information there that I went over. It will try to keep that in front of you, and so you can throw that up there with the rest of this stuff that we got going on here, and you should be okay. Again, these are indications just to help you. The goal is to make sure that you can read it on your own. All right, well, that's my time with you. I do wish you all the best with your trading. Take care.